Hello, Deal Machine family. How you guys doing tonight? Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started here real soon. Let me know if you're in the room by just saying hi in the chat. That way I can make sure you guys can hear me. Crystal and Dedrick, you guys have had a pretty awesome week. I saw you guys posting several times about a lot of different projects you have going on, right?
Oh, man.
Yes, we got a lot going on.
Tell me a little bit about that. What all do you guys have going on currently?
Man, we just closed on an apartment building up in Cleveland, a 12 unit. We posted a YouTube video about that. Closing on another fourplex up in Cleveland. Several wholesale deals we're closing on in North Carolina.
Okay.
So, it's been a great month. Good close to the month.
It sounds like it's a great month. So have you actually gone to Cleveland?
Oh, yeah.
We've gone up there, but we've been doing remote closings. So we're like, hey, send a notary over to our office in North Carolina so we don't got to fly up to do every closing. So it's amazing with technology and mobile notaries, you can close deals in Cleveland from here. They just come, notarize it, sign it, overnight it back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. That's that's a whole nother level right there, guys. I'm anxious to hear more about it.
Yeah, it has been a crazy busy week. Like, oh my God. Oh wait, where are we at?
She's looking at the wrong screen.
Over here.
I'm with the chat.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the chat. That's why.
Yeah. So last time we had the Q&A and the chat, but I disabled the Q&A. That way, all the questions will be in the chat. So
good.
Okay, cool.
Oh, we got Virgin Islands on.
Dang.
Virgin Islands.
Renee.
Oh, Renee Crawford. I recognize that name. I think she's in our course.
Where are the Virgin Islands?
Where are they?
It might be a dumb question, but I'm going to ask
somewhere in the Caribbean. It's near like Puerto Rico, close to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know I want to go.
I do too. Renee, I want to hear about, like, are you using DealMachine, the Virgin Islands?
Right, because we were definitely trying to use ours in the Bahamas.
I know she's got some folks in Florida and Massachusetts, I think, because we had a conversation a few weeks ago. So I know she's doing some stuff in the stateside.
Oh, she said they're near Puerto Rico.
Near Puerto Rico. I haven't been either of those places. I need to get out.
Working so hard up there in Indy.
Yeah, Indy's got a lot of good stuff, but man, we don't have any Virgin Islands, that's for sure.
Aren't you doing a rehab right now?
You know what? I don't have anything right now.
So that video you dropped, that was from prior?
Well, it depends on which. That I didn't buy that house. I was walking through to take a look at it before buying it, and they actually were listing it for $95,000, but it's identical to two houses that I did the burst strategy on that I bought for $44,000 and $60,000. So I knew there was no way I could do the burst strategy on this deal. Yeah. Somebody bought it though, and they did totally different exit strategy, so they could pay more, I guess.
Once you know that you get it at wholesale, it's hard to pay retail for it.
It is. Yeah, I know, and I'm spoiled, I guess. But that's awesome though, as a wholesaler, that they got such a high price. Like, I'm really happy to see that.
Yeah.
First of all, you get
DealMachine
in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Dave?
Man, I kind of want to bring Renee on and ask her some questions. You cool with that?
Yeah.
Let's see. How I do that? I forgot since last time.
Got DC in the house.
So I wonder if it will work in Puerto Rico. Shouldn't it, or no?
I would have to double check.
Start making calls. Just got your first deal on the contract. Congratulations, Austin.
Oh, great job, Austin.
All right, I got Renee as a panelist, and I'm asking her to start the video.
We can't see you, Renee. It's dark. Turn the light on. Oh, you're in the car. We can't hear you.
Oh, your sound's muted. I see the mute symbol. Let's see if I can unmute you.
Unmute your sound.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. Sorry, I'm like out in my car waiting for my fish dinner. Sorry, guys. I'm conducting business in the car. I was just trying to call a seller. I was just trying to call a seller from a DealMachine lead that we have. I'm so pumped up. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do anything, but we're gonna make something happen.
Get it, sis.
Let's do it.
Jump right in and call.
Turn that light back on so we
Figure it out.
I'm turning. Can you see me?
Yeah, with the light on.
Sorry.
Yep.
Good to see you.
Life is really good, guys. I love my DealMachine.
Awesome.
Definitely glad to hear that, Renee. So you live in the Virgin Islands? You're there right now?
I am. I live in the Virgin Islands. We just finished dealing with Karen.
Okay, and where? Wait, Karen?
Hurricane?
Yeah, tropical storm Karen.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Were you okay?
Yeah.
Did you guys have any damage?
Yeah, we got through. We had to put shutters and stuff up. Lots of rain.
Okay.
The waterfront was flooded out because of the storm surge. But hey, that's par for the course. That's the price you pay for living in paradise.
Right.
That sounds nice. But I'm really glad you guys made it okay and didn't have too much damage.
Yes, and
you're
from our course as well, the Driving for Dollars course. Can you hear us? We lost the audio.
Do you see if
you're muted? You're muted, Renee.
You gotta unmute. All right, I think we're having some technical difficulties in the Virgin Islands right now.
Oh no. Okay. Well, Renee.
Hello.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
All good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
I don't know what I did, what I'm doing
so,
now.
Renee, you have deal finders where?
I have deal finders in South Florida and North Florida. I have one in South Florida, in Dade and Broward County, and then I have 2 DealMachine finders in North Florida, in the Orlando area.
Yep.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm looking to add on some more, but I said I need to close some deals first before that happens.
Right. I think
that's what I gotta make happen.
So are you paying your deal finders now?
No, basically
to upgrade your account.
No, well, I have the enterprise deal finder, the DealMachine.
Oh, okay.
That's what I have. Yeah, I invested. I know it takes money to make money, so I'll do what I need to do. And by the way, I need to finish doing what I need to do with the 2 of you so that I can actually participate in your classes. So I haven't forgotten.
We got you.
Just so you know.
And I just saw a comment from Travis, and he said that's exactly what he needed to hear. He said he and his wife live in Costa Rica and have been on the fence about hiring deal finders.
Oh, don't be on the fence. Seriously, because it works.
Yeah.
You got what I do is I have a contract with them. I use the deal finder. I use the deal finder contract that you gave me. I think I had one. So I use that, and I basically what I do is like when I find a deal or when they find deals for me, I will give them 10% of whatever the deal turns out being.
Yeah.
I haven't made any money yet, but that's what I'm doing.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Now there's some one of my deal finders that I'm really close with who does a lot of legwork for me. I'm gonna do 50-50 with him because he's a good family friend. So,
but that's also motivating him.
Yeah, he's my legs and my guy that goes and does the videotaping. He'll actually go and videotape the houses.
There you go. 50% of something is better than 50% of nothing.
Oh yeah, I don't have to make it all.
I
There's plenty
kid you
to go
not.
around.
There you go.
There's a lot of money to be made in this business. And if you're willing to be, you help somebody so that you can get what you want. Because if you put that first, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
You're going to make a lot of money with this business. And
Absolutely.
there's plenty to go around. You do not have to be crabs in a barrel.
And Renee, Monday, try and jump on the call, or shoot me an email, either one.
Okay.
And let's talk about your deal finders, because I want to know what's stopping you from adding more. So let's talk about that one-on-one. Shoot me an email or jump on the call Monday.
Okay, that's a promise. What time are you on Monday?
7:30 to 8:30. We do the question and answer session for all students.
Okay,
we'll send you a link.
That's doable. I'll make that happen. We'll put it on my calendar.
Yeah,
I promise.
All right.
Well, thank you, Renee.
Great seeing you.
Yeah, thank you for
I
joining
love
us.
you guys,
Oh, we love
We
you.
love you too.
I love all three of you.
Oh, thank you so much.
I do. You guys are so awesome. And when I grow up, I want to be just like you all, okay? I'm an old lady. But I'm coming. I'm going to bring it home.
We got you, sis.
Don't make it happen.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye, Renee.
All right, take good care. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of the questions that I saw, where was it? Is there a link available to watch the first one of these webinars?
Oh, yeah. We posted it on our YouTube channel, and I can go grab that link real quick.
Keep going down. How do you get the ARV for multifamily homes? If you have a realtor on your team, that would be the easiest way, is connecting with the realtor and having them run comps for you in exchange for some type of partnership with them. How else would you recommend the ARV? Google is your friend, guys, too. I mean, a lot of times I'll Google the address, and then, of course, you have Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, Truly, all these sites will pop up. And a lot of times their data is so rich, you can take the average of those to kind of get a ballpark figure for what that property might be worth.
Yeah, and that's if you don't have
the MLS access.
Yeah, MLS access or software access, because we have the data software access where we're able to pull comps, or what have you, or find a friend that does have it and just be like, hey, look, I need some comps pulled. And everyone knows a realtor. Most of us have some realtor in the family or a friend of a friend, and just be like, hey, listen, is there a way you can pull some comps? But like you said, you can get a really good estimate just by going through like Zillow and Trulia and things of that nature. I'm having trouble logging on the desktop version. Hey guys, how do you get deals with heirs when there is no will? I have a deal with a buyer, but my attorney says the needs to fill out an heirship affidavit. I don't understand this. Maybe you guys can shed some light.
What state are you in? Because it really depends on your state.
So tell them about our state.
Each state is different. In North Carolina, if there's no will, you have to go through the probate process. So someone owns a house, they pass away, they don't have the will, that property has to go through probate. So in North Carolina, you got to open the estate, which is filing some paperwork, paying a fee, and opening the estate. They have to run an ad to creditors saying, hey, this person has passed away. If there are any creditors that are owed money, come forward now. And then after a set amount of days, it's like 30 or 60 days. If no creditors come forward, then the house can be sold. But again, you have to look at your particular state. Each state has different laws around that.
I heard you say somebody had trouble logging into the desktop version, and I wanted to let that person know, please reach out to our support. We can definitely help you with any issues like that. There should be a chat window if you just go to DealMachine.com.
Yes, they have the best support.
Someone asked, so you split the deal with the deal finder 50-50. Our standard for deal finders is 10%. Renee had just mentioned 50-50 because she has a deal finder that is close to her that goes above and beyond. But it's really whatever you negotiate. But again, ours is 10% standard for deal finders.
I definitely need that deal finder agreement contract. Can we get that? Dave, I know we have it in the course. Isn't it somewhere
Josh just posted it. Thank you, Josh.
Okay. Thanks, Josh.
Good to see you, Josh.
Hey, Josh. So last thing, I got my first contract off those 250 leads. I'm trying to do the disposition now, but not 100% sure of how to dispo properties, market a deal to buyers. I've gotten a property at 290K. ARV is 215. ARV 215 owed. Seller wants 5K down. We put it under contract on a sub-2 for up to 5 years. I'm in South Florida. Auction rolls on. How can I be sure I get this closed before auction rolls around?
How much rehab does it need? How much repairs does it need? You got it at 215. The ARV is 290. You got it at 74% of ARV. So again, the big question that I'm actually going to ask is how much do I have to put into this in order to sell it for that after repair value? Do I need to put 50,000 into it, or do I need to put $5,000 into it?
On my area fast enough, and I'm looking for 2 deal finders now. Good job, Chase. How can I get deal finders and etc. established? I'm in Brooklyn, looking to lock down the area and some of New Jersey and PA if possible. OV, I would definitely say you're in Brooklyn, and I'm gonna just be honest with you because we're from Boston. Hey, Josh.
Hey, what's up, Josh?
We're from Boston, so in Brooklyn, New York, all of those areas, the Bronx, kind of like Boston, where they're really hot markets right now.
High-priced markets. Very
high-priced markets. So you have the right idea with looking into the New Jersey and PA market. You're going to find deals there quicker than you would in Brooklyn, because Brooklyn, you got to have really deep pockets. People know what they're sitting on. And one of the ways that you kind of look, so like I use DealMachine differently in Boston than I do in North Carolina for that exact reason. So a lot of our Boston deals also come from referrals, because anyone who's a little bit savvy know what they're sitting on in Boston. So they're not going to give their property away at a wholesale. You can hang up subject to, it's never going to happen in that area. So you go by referrals. At that point, you got to become that expert in real estate, and everybody got to know what you do. Everybody got to refer you to their grandmother's grandmother. New Jersey and PA, you can still find a ton of deals. I would literally focus there with DealMachine. And if you want to hit Brooklyn using, say, like DealMachine, I would put real specific targeted properties. So what I do is I pull a real small filtered list. And I upload those names, probably about 40 to 50 names, but it's really filtered. I enter those into DealMachine. Criteria is typically out-of-state owners, and I think I mentioned this on the last webinar. Out-of-state owners bought the property prior to like 85. What else?
Vacant, absentee.
Long as they're absentee, it doesn't have to be vacant, because you're not going to find a bunch of vacant in Brooklyn. But I do that because I don't want the owner to live in the same state. I don't want them to know what the property looks like. I don't want them to know all the new building and what's going on, the development going on. I want someone who has no idea what's going on in that state and just want to get rid of the property that they think looks the same way as it looked 40 years ago when they took ownership of it. So that's how I would approach that. Charging 2 points when he initially told you 1.
So Dina Cutler, she has a first deal under contract. Congrats. She's in New York, an attorney state. The lender originally had told her he is charging 2 points when he initially told me 1. This is a back-to-back closing. Does that sound right? So you are borrowing money from a hard money lender, and he changed the points on you. So are you going to actually flip this deal, or are you going to wholesale? It sounds like if you're getting a lender, you're going to flip it. I would shop some different lenders if they're changing terms on you, or you might have to go with that lender.
Lease to purchase options. Does that mean contracts?
Lease to purchase. Any recommendations or materials dealing with lease to purchase?
Do you mean like contracts? Adam, not sure what you mean about any recommendations or materials. How do you work with foreigners? The same way we work with people down the street. If you have money, we will provide the property. So it doesn't matter where you
technology.
live. Right. North Carolina, he lives. Oh, so Dominic, he lives in North Carolina, the one who asked you about the probate. So your process is going to be just like that.
Exactly what I explained.
Yep.
That's the process.
Aside from this app, what's your favorite way of finding leads? Any creative ideas to share? Other than DealMachine, Ringless voicemail, REI Rail. That's our other marketing source is REI Rail. And that's the other way that we find deals. Owner has been dead for 6 years. Recently opened an LLC for my son as a DealMachine on his cell phone. Whatever deal I put 10% of earnings in his account. Should I put more? He's only 9.
That's great. You're putting money in your account.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Put more.
Yes.
That's up to you. But that's great. You're starting him out earning and saving at a young age.
That is awesome.
How do you hire a deal finder?
How do you hire a deal finder? One, we don't necessarily hire a deal finder. We ask them if they want to be a part of our team. Because you can come and go as you please.
They're not employees.
They're not employees.
Mm-hmm.
We're not filing taxes for them at the end of the year. Unless we pay them. But we don't hire them. So they're not with us full time. So what I would say is you give them the necessary tools to be a deal finder, and you
DealMachine gives them the tools, right?
Absolutely. So, and then I tell people this: do not spend, and maybe it's just me, don't spend months and months talk about, oh, I'm training my deal finders. There's people coming to me and be like, oh, I just had a deal finder training for 2+ hours. Listen, I have deal finders who added 1,000 properties, and all we said was, hey, do you want to join our team?
We've never done any training.
This is what we are looking for. This is the criteria. This is what we like. We don't even give them too much of a filter because we want them to upload everything. I tell people, don't give your deal finders a criteria. Just let them upload everything and then you filter through it. Because once you start saying, hey, only get me this, and this, they're going to get a lot more frustrated, like, oh, as they're driving, like, oh, that's not, oh, wait, they don't want those. So they're going to end up stopping anyway. Just see who's committed and who sticks around after a week, and then you invest in them. You start to educate them more on it.
There's a couple like really specific things you just said that I and hey everybody, I know you're hearing me for the first time, but there's a couple of things I really like you just said is you ask people to join your team, and so you're getting people who are in it for the long haul when you go that route, and you're not necessarily getting people who are like trying to pay the bills next month with whatever they're trying that they may or may not get from you, which is important. Especially if you kind of want to adopt the payment structure of paying on the back end of a deal. So how you recruit people should reflect that payment structure. So when people are like potentially like, hey, like real estate interests me, maybe it's a career or maybe it's just a supplemental opportunity for me that I want to invest my time in. Those are the people that you want, because those are the people that will actually convert to actually sending properties when you're going that route. So I really like that you guys said that. From that perspective, curious, you said that you kind of give them very, very loose guidelines on the types of properties that you want them to add.
Yep.
What do those guidelines look like, and how do you digest the properties that get sent to you as quickly as possible? I know some of those answers, but I'd love for you guys to dive a little bit into that just evaluation process, since you've got very loose guidelines for people, especially working across all the states that you guys are in.
Yeah, so what I will tell them is the areas that we want. So I'm going to tell you, hey, I want this city. I don't want anything country. Right now, we're targeting these cities in this area. Bring me what you have within this specific zip code. The reason why we do that is because we, especially being virtual, we don't want Rice, Podunk, Mississippi. And now we got a deal there, or what we think is the deal. And now we got to try and find a cash buyer that specifically buys in this zip code that has 300 population 300, and that's only if everybody's home. So we really, the only specifications I give people now is just where do you live? So when people sign up to be a part of our team, we ask them before we even send them any paperwork, any email, our welcome email, where are you located? And some will be like, oh, Atlanta. Are you located in Atlanta or are you near Atlanta? There's a difference, because you can be 45 minutes outside and then you'll be like, oh, well, you know, it's same thing.
Snellville. Georgia.
Right, Snellville.
Nothing against Snellville.
Right, and then we're like, no. So as long as we know, we let you know ahead of time what we're looking for. The area is pretty much what we get. Other than that, load us up with what you have in that area.
So another question, what are some good questions to ask an attorney when you're interviewing them? So when you're interviewing a real estate attorney and you're an investor, you want to ask them, hey, do you work with investors? If they say, no, I just do vanilla real estate deals and closings for realtors, you want to get up and you want to find a different attorney. You want that attorney that specializes in working with investors, folks who fix and flip houses, folks who have rental properties. You want them to, hey, are you familiar with an assignment contract and how that works? If they say no, that's not the attorney you've dealt with. If they say, yeah, I've closed about 50 assignment deals for wholesalers, that's who you want to deal with. Have you ever done a double close? You want them to say yes to those types of questions. So ask them specific questions about assignment contracts, wholesale deals. Have you done double closes before, back-to-back closings? Those are the questions you want to ask an attorney to make sure they're real estate friendly, real estate investor friendly.
Chase, so there's no need to pay them hourly for driving. No, there's all different ways that you can compensate a deal finder. You don't have to pay them anything up front. And I would suggest you not start off that way. Get some deals under your belt. When we first started, we paid no one anything. It was 10% once we closed the deal, and that was on the net. So, and make that clear too. But my husband be real quick to be like, net, not gross.
Gotta pay taxes.
We gotta pay taxes.
Uncle Sam wants his money too, so gotta pay him
I jump in there too, because I think hourly, I've seen hourly work really well. David's had a lot of success with hourly in Indianapolis, but it also just depends on what your budget is to allocate towards that. Like if you're stressed about like spending $500 a month on marketing, do not commit any sort of money to your deal finders on the front, because that's just not a winning strategy for anybody in the end. And so analyze really what your situation is, and again, like optimize your recruitment strategy, your payment strategy around your scenario.
Exactly. Oh, Rick, your team sent information on DealMachine course, and I hope to join soon. Well, we'll welcome you, Ricky.
Awesome, Rick.
Do you guys have any insight into the Baltimore market? Baltimore is a really, really good market, a hot market too. So if you get any properties in there, please reach out to us. What I understand, the probate period is 2 years after that. It doesn't need to go to probate. The seller is an heir and her parents passed 8 years ago. Have you had any situations like this?
Yeah, we have situations like that all the time. I would say go to your real estate attorney, whoever you work with, and they're going to do a title search, and they're going to tell you specifically what needs to be done, if it needs to be probated or not. We're not attorneys, so I wouldn't feel comfortable telling you what to do with that situation.
Are you mailing and calling your DealMachine lists? And how often are you following up? Yes, we are mailing and calling our DealMachine lists. And we mail them first, and then we export them, and then we cold call them.
Then we ring this voicemail.
Yep.
So again, we have like it's like a wheel that these leads go through. They get hit with DealMachine first. If they don't respond to that after X amount of months, we're going to take them out and put them in a ring this voicemail campaign, put them in a cold calling campaign, put them in a text campaign until they respond and say, take us off the list, or I want to sell you my house. So you literally got to hit them with all these different types of marketing, because different people respond to different forms of marketing.
And if you are, strapped for cash, I would say once you put them in to DealMachine, export them, skip trace them, and cold call them. That's the next cheapest is cold calling.
What do you guys skip trace with when you're doing a big batch like that?
REI skip.
Oh yeah, Skip. Cool.
And my, actually, you know who's coming out with, well, I ain't gonna say it yet because I don't know if she wants me to throw it out there yet, but you guys know she is a really good friend of mine who's launching her.
There's like 3 people I could think of.
Yeah.
It's like one of 3 that I'm like, yep.
So I actually just got our first batch skipped through her company. So
Cool.
She drops that soon. It's gonna be amazing. But REI Skip, so a lot of you guys know Max Maxwell. We utilize his skip tracing company. And do title companies have a problem doing virtual wholesale deals? Where'd that go? Oh, wholesale deals with out-of-state LLCs.
Depends on the state, and it depends on the title company. We've done virtual wholesale deals with the out-of-state LLC before.
Yep.
So yeah, it can be done. Depends on the state and the title company.
Now there are some like Boston, where Massachusetts, where we had to register our LLC with the state, and that was not because it was more so a requirement of the attorney or the seller who felt more comfortable.
The seller's attorney.
Yeah, the seller's attorney was the one who, just this one guy who's just like, hey, we feel more comfortable if something happened or went south if you just register your company with the state, but you don't really have to. I'm in Dallas, about 230, the price range.
Someone wants a link to go up some? Drop a link to the course.
Yep.
I'll drop the link.
I'm in Dallas. And what did I say? Price range neighborhoods would be best to drive in this area. I'm not familiar with Dallas, but I would say if the price points are that high, it really just has to be a deal. And if the price points are $230 and you get it at $100,000, you got a deal. So it really just has to be a deal. For us in Boston, when we go to Boston, yes, we do. We still drive for dollars in Boston, and every single house is $1 million property. So, and we still find deals there. So if the deal, like my husband say, if it's a deal, it's a deal, no matter where it is or how much the house is worth.
I think the cool thing to point about that in particular is why people emphasize building a really good buyer's list is so important. Because and granted, like you said, if you get a good deal, you're going to be able to move it, period. But if you have the right buyer's list, you can confidently say, okay, I've got buyers who buy in the $1 million range and I know what they're looking for, their criteria. And when you go into a seller discussion, knowing that what a buyer is going to be willing to buy at, it gives you so much negotiation leverage and just confidence. Because what a lot of wholesalers struggle with, I think, early on, and I'm sure you guys hear this a lot, they follow like the 70% ARV formula, which right now in the market that we're in is like oftentimes very unrealistic anytime you're close to like a main area at all. But there are buyers out there buying at 80, 85%. And if you know that because you've built relationships with good buyers and you've focused on that process, you can come in, you can beat every other wholesaler on your cost because people are going to buy it and you're going to make money. In the end, we're treating the seller better than too, because they're making money on the property that they own as much as they can, and everyone's winning in that scenario.
There you go.
Great point.
So,
absolutely. We were sitting with a cash buyer today, actually.
Today, yeah.
Who came in, and we had met with him the day before on another business that we're launching, and he was the point of contact for it. So he told my husband, he said, Dedrick, could you, friend me on Facebook, send me a friend request, and then I'll shoot you the information through Messenger. So he was like, oh, okay, sure. Today or yesterday, we had called, I messaged him because I was like, hey, we didn't get that information. And he was like, oh my God. He was like, I saw your Facebook page. He was like, God pointed me to you guys. I need to sit down with you. He came, sat down. When I tell you he had every bank account statement, he's
an investor. So he owns 12 rental properties. So
13.
We told him when we're sitting down talking about a different business venture that we do real estate. We didn't tell him everything we did, but he looked us up on Facebook and saw our online presence and was like, wow, you guys are really investors. So he was like, hey, he came and requested a meeting, like my wife said, sat down in our office today, and he has a substantial amount of capital that he's ready to deploy into single and multifamily investments. So we can wholesale him deals. We may partner with him on some deals. But now when you have that type of cash buyer that has 6-7 figures capital to invest, you're going shopping with the house's money.
Yep.
Because you know you can spend, you got a buyer in your back pocket. So it's powerful. So you want to get that out there, network, find out what your buyers want, how much they can pay, and you go shopping for your buyers.
Yep. My fiance and I are in Kansas. We're full-time in wholesalers, but looking to purchase larger multifamilies. We've seen your purchase in Ohio. Do you have a certain criteria when picking a market to purchase larger cash flow properties?
Yes, we do. So we picked Cleveland for several reasons. We feel like Cleveland, a lot of the Midwest cities are undervalued. You got Indy, you got Cleveland, you got Columbus, you got Chicago, where these St. Louis cities, they call it cash flow central, because the amount you can pay for a property versus what you get in rent, you get really good cash flow in those markets. And we saw that Cleveland was a really depressed, certain areas were really depressed where you can get multifamilies for super cheap, cheaper than you can get anywhere else in the country. So that was some of the criteria that made us choose Cleveland in order to buy and build a base of multifamily apartments. But that's kind of some of the things we look for.
Any tips on cold calling? Yes.
Have a thick skin.
Yes. Find yourself a corner somewhere like I had to do. And
cold calling's tough.
Listen,
I'm not going to sit here and lie. You got to go face a lot of rejection. It's a numbers game because you're going to get a lot more no's than yeses. But it's truly a numbers game.
I would say what I did for me to get over it is I practiced with him first. So I literally act like he was the seller, I was the buyer, and I just practiced with him.
And those are warm calls. The calls that she did, they weren't ice cold. These are people we had sent postcards to, but we had spoken to them. And when she actually called and they picked up, they were sort of cold, but she's like, yeah, my name is Crystal Polite. And a few of them were like, Polite? Yeah.
Did you send me a card?
I got like 8 postcards of you sitting right in front of me right now. So that warmed them up because they had gotten these postcards we had sent through DealMachine.
So one of the things that we do is that same DealMachine list we take and we put into, once we hit them after so many times, we put it into Ringless voicemail, and our Ringless voicemail says, hey, it's me, Crystal from Vacant Properties, just checking to see if you got my postcard that I sent you the other day. And it's literally piggybacking off of the steps that we just took. So if they don't respond to that, then, hey, I'm just calling. I'll actually, or it won't be me, but we cold call them. So they're really warm. They're not really cold leads. But what I did was I practiced with him first. Then I went by myself. I had him leave. And I literally just dove in. And like you said, you just got to have thick skin. Know that sometimes you're going to get cussed out. Don't take it personal. Just know that at the end of the day, you never know what the other person on the side of that phone is going through at that moment. And whatever they're saying, it is not personal. They don't know you. You don't know them. You can always hang up the phone. Don't take it personal. Just call. I'm telling you, once you get the first 2 to 3 calls out of the way, you're going to be like, what in the world was I scared for? Because that was literally me.
Just pick up the phone.
Yeah. I think that's anytime, especially I feel like a lot of people entering this industry don't have like a sales background necessarily. They might have been doing something else. Like if you have a sales background, I mean, you're getting on the phone to sell them. I know you're buying their property, but you're selling them on the process and the whole acquisition. And I always equate it, for me personally, like whenever I was like doing like high school sports really competitively on a big level and had like a really big game, like you've got butterflies like the whole time leading up to it, up to the first like 20 seconds. And then after the first 20 seconds of the game starts, like it's the last thing on your mind is being nervous. Yep. You're just like, you're in it, you're after it. And so like when you hang up, dial the next one as fast as possible. Don't let those set back in again and just keep after it.
Yep.
And especially when you first start, I feel like just like give yourself like, hey, like I'm going to go head down for 60 minutes, 90 minutes, something like that. That's achievable. It doesn't feel like imposing, and just accomplish that measurable goal. And you'll be really surprised, I think, at how fast things can happen.
Yep.
And to add to that, another easy way to ease yourself into cold calling is calling for sale by owners.
Yep.
Go, people who have their house listed for sale by owner, call them up. Hey, they want to sell. So at least you got that barrier out the way. Now it's like, okay, how motivated are they? Are they motivated? So you can ease yourself into it through that. Alan Ayers, you're in Snellville, Georgia. Shout out to Snellville. I got some family there.
A friend of ours, Scott Oots, is a guy. He's a friend of Max. He's usually at Max's events. In case some people on here might have met him. We were with him in San Diego a few months ago, and he was telling us everyone that starts with him, that whatever their role is within the organization, they start on their text messaging system, and they have a goal. I think he said they have to call 100 for sale by owners a day for like the first month or two. And he doesn't even care what market it is. Like he's like, it's not even deal hunting for them. That's just straight. Like you need to talk to people that are talking about properties and figure out how to be confident, talk intelligently, get your mess ups out of the way, and just go.
That's how we start our acquisition managers, is on the phone. Like you're not going to go see a property or any of that. We start with them just on the phone, calling. Smile and dial is what I say. Smile and dial, smile and dial, smile and dial.
Radcliffe in Burlington, what attorney do you use? I'd like to connect with them. Send us an email, Elaine, and we can get you that information.
My girlfriend's a closing attorney in Raleigh.
Oh, there you go. If you're looking for one in Raleigh.
If you guys need anyone local here in Raleigh.
Email Josh.
Oh, you did tell me that, Josh.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. She's in the background here now with the dogs. I had a follow up to.
I have a deal in the contract.
Cold call.
Just started in Baltimore. Any tips for how to negotiate once I have a deal under contract?
So you're talking about negotiating with the cash buyer? You're not, because you already got under contract with the seller. So how you negotiate with the buyer? I mean, it's just like anything else. We don't really negotiate with our buyers. If it's a deal, you're going to have competition from your buyers. So you're going to have multiple buyers bidding on it. So it's a bidding war. So whoever gives us the best price with the best terms and close the quickest, that's who's going to win that deal among our buyers for that wholesale deal.
Sell the property, but yeah.
One question I have, it's kind of a follow-up to cold calling and talking to people on the phone. I know a lot of the people that we've run across lately are like really aggressive about trying to get things under contract on that first phone call or via the phone as quickly as possible before they get out to inspect properties. I'm curious if you guys have implemented anything like that or if you've thought about doing that at all.
So we're very aggressive with getting the appointment. We don't tend to, if we can lock something up over the phone, we will. We locked up that 12-plex in Cleveland over the phone. We never met the seller in person. That was all over the phone.
All of our virtuals are over the phone.
Yeah, so if we can, we will, but that's not our first. Our first inclination is to get out there and meet that person or meet that seller in person, look eye to eye, shake their hands, build that face-to-face rapport. But if we can't, we will by all means lock it up and try to close it over the phone.
Sure.
How big would the spread need to be to do a double close? And would you double close on every deal?
So we double close when it's a large spread. So for example, we're about to make $35,000 and we think the seller or the buyer or any other parties, if that's disclosed before closing, we have an issue with it, we'll double close. If we're making 10, 15 grand, we'll do an assignment.
Yep.
Double close does add some fees to it because you're using someone else's money to close back to back. But right, if you're going to make 50, 80, 100 grand and your fees are going to be 1,500 instead of 500, I'll pay that 1,500 to lock in that profit as just a business expense.
Yep.
It's an insurance policy on that, on just removing that variable of like either the seller or the buyer not being happy at the size of that assignment fee, even though it's fair.
Lawrence Taylor. Do you play for the Giants? LT.
I'm curious to know how your experience has
Are you the best pass rusher of all time?
Right. Cold calling to vacant properties. The same way it is occupied properties. We know their motivation. I absolutely love vacant properties.
It's vacant. It's not making any money.
It's some type of motivation, but know your market. Because a vacant property in the wrong market don't mean absolutely nothing. So a vacant property in Boston and our Boston market means nothing. There's owners who will let that property sit there vacant and could care less and it still won't sell it to you. because they know the property's valued at 1.5, 1.8 million.
Whether
But
it's vacant or occupied.
Vacant or occupied, that it still has that same value because of the location. One in Brooklyn, if it's vacant, don't assume there's the motivation there. But if you are in a smaller town, like where we actually live, there's some type of motivation there. So I want to get to it. I think vacant properties are one of the best lists that you can go after or put into DealMachine. And I say anyone who's really starting out, those are the properties you should be adding: vacant and absentee owner. If you want your phone ringing quickly, and not a bunch of take me off the list, you should be adding vacant and absentee owners. Because when I started with us, that's all I entered in the beginning. That's how our phone blew up.
So Rodrika asks, what system do you use to keep track of all your leads and determine where they flow in your process on the wheel? Man, we use a lot of different systems on the marketing end. We use DealMachine, we use REI Rail for Ringless. We use a lot of different systems. So,
but what?
When does a lead leave DealMachine for you guys?
I was just about to say, a lead becomes a lead when someone actually calls us and say, "Hey, yep, my name is Joe Blow. I have a property for sale." That's when it really goes into our CRM system and becomes a lead, which is investor fuse.
Yeah.
So that's what we use to keep track of all of our leads. She's asking about
putting it into other marketing channels.
Okay, so from there, then we have, everything is on a timer with us. So from there, it goes into maybe Ringless voicemail, and it's there I'll rehash that list about 3 times. Every list of those get rehashed 3 times. Then from there, once those are done, it'll go into cold calling from there. And that's our lead flow. And we'll also hit it with a text blast.
Juan T, have you grown most of your support team, attorneys, title companies, hard money lenders, through referrals or trial and error? A little bit of both. We always ask for referrals first because we want that person coming from a trusted source. But then trial and error. If that person doesn't deliver, we go to the next professional that can deliver on what we need.
If you're partnering with someone on DealMachine, how does that work? I don't suggest partnering with anyone on DealMachine if they are not your spouse. And I say that because I get that question a lot from people. And I tell people, you got to remember, when you got a DealMachine account, DealMachine is hitting your account as the postcards hit. So I had 2 people who was like, hey, we're going to share, 2 friends, 2 ladies, who was like, hey, we're going to share a DealMachine account. And then one of the ladies, and I met him at We Live, she ended up emailing me a month later after I told them at We Live I wouldn't suggest it. I would just suggest you both start with the individual plan. And she emailed me and said, I don't know why I didn't listen to you. I met you at We Live. She was like, it was a disaster. She was like, because they were both trying to keep track of what postcards she was sending, to keep track of
who owed what.
They were both responsible for. It was coming out of one girl's account. It was constantly being overdrawn.
There's also a data ownership issue that can arise there. Like whoever on our side, whoever is the team owner of that account is the formal owner of any data in the account. And so if you're joining someone else's account, like in theory, you could say, hey, give me all my leads. I want to leave. They could tell you no if they wanted.
Yep.
Keep your own account.
Yep. Get your own account.
Yeah. Keep your own account. And obviously, like if you've got like formal business partners, you got to jump like, whether that's spouses or whatever behind an LLC, you guys are doing everything together day to day, that's different. But if you each have your own independent companies, I think it's more advisable to try and have your own account.
Exactly. Who do we use for Ringless voicemail? REI Rail. I put the link in also, but that's who we use for our Ringless voicemail. How do I pay the fee or my gap lender? Do I pay the fee or my gap lender?
What fee are you referring to?
Can you go more in depth on the double close? Oh, do I pay the fee or my gap lender?
I'm guessing they probably mean like the closing cost.
Right.
Which would be out of your end in the end. Your gap lender is is just lending you the money. So you're paying them a percentage there. I mean, you'll probably use the funds that you're getting out to then pay the fee, but you're the one paying it. Your gap lender's not paying it, or your end buyer is the one paying it.
Yep.
So someone asked, can you go more in depth on a double close? So a double close as a wholesaler is when you're making a very large spread and you don't want that to be disclosed to the person you're buying the house from or the person that your cash buyer who's buying it from you. You're going to make 50 grand, right? You don't want that to blow up the deal. So you say, I'm going to do a double close. So you find a lender who does transactional funding, meaning they're going to lend you the money for a short period of time. It can be an hour, right? So say, for example, you're buying a house for $100,000. You have it under contract for $100,000, but you have a cash buyer that's willing to pay you $150,000. So you're going to make $50,000. I would recommend double closing that. So you find a lender who's going to lend you the $100,000 for the A to B transaction, seller A to you, buyer B. They're going to give you the $100,000 for a fee. So you might pay like 1%, so $1,000. And then you're going to turn around an hour or two later or the next day, you're going to sell it to C. So your buyer B, you're going to sell it to your cash buyer C for $150,000. And you're going to make the difference there. And it may cost you $1,000 or $2,000. But again, you do that back to back or that double close so that your fee isn't disclosed and it doesn't sour the deal. So that's how a double close or they call it back-to-back close transaction works.
Yep. Yeah. What I'd add to that too is some people try to get by without using transactional funding and still doing a double close. Most good lawyers will tell you that's just not possible because legally for a lawyer to start a closing of a transaction, they have to have that transaction funded. They have to have the accounts and the financials and escrow to be able to do that close. And so for them to be able to execute on your close, you have to have the funds in place under your name in their accounts to be able to complete the transaction. So that's why that transactional funding is really needed. You can find articles online that try to explain how to do double closing without transactional funding. Some of it's a little bit state specific, but largely everyone I've spoken with and all the experts I've talked to, like it's just not possible to do it or legal. And actually, if a lawyer is closing without transactional funding, they're putting their license as an attorney in jeopardy.
Yep. Question for you guys. What monthly plan on DealMachine would you recommend for beginners?
Basic.
Yeah, basic. Yeah.
Basic. Yeah. We designed that for beginners. Right now you've got your first 3 drivers that you can add to your team on basic. So if it is a husband and wife scenario, you and your spouse can be on the account along with a couple other drivers. So that's really honestly one of our core reasons for even allowing drivers on that plan is to let people who are in that early on process to have an account designed for them. So definitely basic. Enterprise is awesome once you're ready to scale. Because you get all those drivers and all that good stuff, but definitely basic is designed for the beginner.
All right, Adrienne has a question. When do you require earnest money deposit to be deposited, before or after assignment contract is signed? So again, you got the property under contract, you're marketing it to your cash buyers. When do you require your EMD? We require our EMD as quickly as possible. So we'll give them the assignment contract, and typically they'll sign that first, but we don't take it off the market until we've received that earnest money deposit. That's like the cash buyer's down payment. Once we receive that check, and we usually require anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000, and then we'll take down all of our marketing. Anyone else calls about that deal, we'll say it's under contract. But until we receive that check, we're still marketing it. And we tell the buyer, hey, until we receive your down payment, your earnest money, we're going to still market the deal. And most buyers, they understand that. So again, if it's a deal, that buyer's going to move quickly to sign that assignment agreement and get you your check so it can be taken off the market.
Do you guys take your contracts to title instantly after signing it, or would you recommend waiting until you have a buyer and assignment contract along with the purchase and sale? I would say wait until you have a buyer, because if you take it to title or your attorney, depending on what type of state you live in, they're going to do a title search.
If you tell them to.
If you tell them to, which most of them do the moment you give them the contract. They're just not going to sit there with the contract. But the moment you bring it to them, they're going to start to do the title search. You're going to end up paying for that, whether you end up with a buyer or not. So we learned that when we first started out.
If you have a buyer, the buyer's going to pay.
I mean, where if you don't have a buyer,
If the deal doesn't close.
If it doesn't close, you still have to pay for that work they just done. So I would suggest you wait until you have a buyer and then say, go ahead. And you have that contract, run title. How would you filter leads that are uploaded by your drivers to distinguish as leads that you market to or the ones that you trash? How we do it is, depending on what state it's in, I look at the purchase date. I look at the purchase date. If there's a mortgage on it, I don't always go by what's on the mortgage, but I definitely look at the purchase date of the home and the area. So if it was one that's showing that it was just recently purchased, no, of course we don't mail to them. And it depends if it's an LLC or corporate owned. If you're just starting out, I would not suggest you mail to them, but I would suggest you keep them in DealMachine, because what we did was I didn't mail to them when we first started. It wasn't until we had made some money, I went back and then I started mailing to them. And I started mailing to them as cash buyers or tired landlords. So my postcard specifically said, are you looking to buy more properties or are you looking to offload some of your properties? But I didn't do that until we had closed enough deals and we had a bigger marketing budget. When you're first starting out, just stick to trying to get some deals.
Two things I love kind of what you just said, and a couple things. One is workflow wise, never delete deals in DealMachine. Maritza, I see you say trash, and I know we've got a trash option. I would put that in your disqualified bucket. We don't want to trash a deal in theory, especially permanently deleted. Obviously, if you trash it, the data is still there. But just do it in the disqualified bucket, because that just means it didn't fit your marketing criteria at that moment, but it keeps the data there. So you're not going to duplicate it in the future, so you don't have to double work. And again, if you ever want to go back to it, it's available to you. Second thing, what you mentioned about corporate owns versus like absentee owners versus owner occupieds, and like early on you chose to market to a more narrow list. And what I like you point out about that, it's not that like every single property can't be a deal. Whatever whoever owns it, whatever the scenarios, it can all be a deal. What you're looking at is the average acquisition costs based off some of the marketing criteria, or based off some of the parameters around each of the properties. Those could change pretty drastically. So when we narrow down to like absentee owner, has owned it for like a long period of time, no mortgage, like that's the wheelhouse of people that cash transactions are really easy for. So your acquisition costs on average for those deals are going to be a little bit lower. So when your budget matters more, when like spending $1,500, $2,000 is not realistic per deal, narrow your list down a little bit more. Don't delete the other opportunities, but know that, hey, like it might just take more spend there. So I'm gonna like pause essentially those properties until I'm ready to spend a little bit more, and then narrow down the list to a more digestible audience that's going to convert at a higher percentage to deals. Because in the end, once you've got a bigger business moving, like if spending $2,000 a deal gets you 20 extra deals a month, great. Like spend $2,000 a deal. Early on, it's just harder to justify that. So narrow down the list early on, keep the leads in your back pocket, and then work them whenever your budget or time can allow for it.
Yep. Somebody asked if PropStream can be integrated into DealMachine. Cancel.
David, jump in. But we don't have a direct integration with them, and there's no easy way to do that on an automated process today.
Can DealMachine differentiate between two drivers, account owners mailing the same location, or two investors working the same market, and also both being DealMachine members? And at that point, is it all about who owners call first?
Good question.
Yeah. So there's nothing in DealMachine that would actually let one account see what another account's doing, and so you're really just operating independently. Mm-hmm. And I would say if somebody did happen to add that same house, it's more than likely that they're like not following up properly.
Right.
So
right.
I wouldn't get too discouraged by the thought of that.
Fortune is in the follow-up. 90% of your deals will come from following up.
Yep.
We followed up with some deals like 60 times, but it's worth it if you get a $20,000 check. I'll call somebody 60 times.
Yep. Gary, kid, sure, shoot us a message, and I'll get it over to you. I have a deal under contract. The daughter assists her mother with ADLS. The other children are attempting to gain guardianship over a 93-year-old mother who's deemed competent by doc. How would you handle this deal?
That has a lot of hair on it.
Right.
There's no easy answer to that one. I would say consult with an attorney that can advise you on that.
Just a heads up, we've just got a couple minutes left.
All right. I'm trying to close this out here. In your opinion, when is it best to send In our opinion, when is it best to send postcards? As soon as I enter it into DealMachine and I see it fits my criteria,
let it fly.
I hit send right then. I don't waste no time.
And that's a good point. Like one of the reasons we've designed DealMachine is to let you do that. Like one of the problems that David especially saw in the market whenever he was starting out and building DealMachine was, unless you got this big bulk list of properties to mail, it's like really cumbersome to just mail a property unless you just wait till you build a bigger list and then do a bulk mailer. And so one of the things that was the goal in creating DealMachine was like, if you just have one property that you find today, don't miss the opportunity because you're waiting and then forgetting about it. Like just take the picture, hit send, and then never worry about it again until they call. That was the goal.
Yeah. You're like a sniper with DealMachine. I think so many people, they'll enter properties in DealMachine and they'll never hit send mailer. I'm like, you got to send a mailer if you want them to call you back. You got to send it.
See you later, Renee. Renee said bye, everybody.
Bye, Renee.
Bye, Renee.
This is a good question for you guys, though. Are the enhanced search phone numbers do not call scrubbed so I can call them on the spot?
We do not scrub them currently. So yeah, you can still, they're not currently scrubbed against the do not call list.
So call them from a number that's not your cell phone, and don't say your name when you call, and don't say your company name when you call. Somebody asks, is there a tutorial on DealMachine and Podio integration?
I don't know if we have a specific tutorial on that. It would be through Zapier. We've got Zapier tutorials for other integrations, and the process is relatively similar. So I would check out DealMachine Zapier on YouTube and find a couple, and then that can kind of show you how you would implement it into Podio, depending on what it is you want to do specifically.
I just found this help article that we have. It says, how do I forward deals to my CRM? And I just posted the link there in the chat.
Good last question for you guys. Alan from Snellville, can you give a brief explanation of what your product is and does? I'm a newbie and I'm totally lost.
I'll let David tackle that.
He just jumped on the webinar.
Welcome. David, you want to knock that out?
Sorry, I was reading something else. What was the question you just brought up?
He said he's a newbie. He said, can you give a brief explanation of what your product is and does? I'm a newbie and I'm totally lost.
Yes. All right. Let me, I'm going to share my screen for a second. Oop. Yeah. So when I was starting out driving for dollars, first of all, if you don't know what driving for dollars is, it's whenever you're looking for properties that look vacant and run down. So when I was doing that, I was doing a lot of the driving, but I actually wasn't following up properly with the properties that I found. So basically, I'd write down all these addresses on a list of on a piece of paper in my car. And then 3-4 weeks went by, I still had that paper in my car. I hadn't sent out mail because it was a pretty big pain. And I actually drove by the same property twice, and somebody else had actually bought it and was renovating it. And so I got really frustrated, and I went home and I looked up all these property owners. And it took a while to look them all up on the county website. And then I had to actually print out my mail with my own printer. And so I really got frustrated, and I built this tool for me that basically allows you to just pin a property while you're driving. and then you can add that property by pressing the plus button. So you don't have to write down the address or anything. And then it's going to tell you who owns the property. And so this one's owned by a guy named C. Vernon Marsh. And what you can do is you can send him a postcard. And so this is an example of one of our letters that you can send out through DealMachine on the spot. You just press the button and we'll send it out for you. And then you can keep driving. So that's a brief overview of what DealMachine does.
I hope that helped. All right, I think that is it, guys. Wow,
it flew by.
Yeah, it did.
I felt like having all the questions in the chat really made this a lot easier to stay focused.
I missed it last time. Was it a little rougher?
Well, so Zoom has this feature called Q&A. So some questions were over there and some other questions were on the chat.
Okay. Interesting.
It was just me. It was about me figuring out how to use Zoom properly. You know, it's just a tool, right? You got to learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for hopping on again.
Yes, thanks for having us, guys. We love doing this.
Absolutely. And I hope you guys got your questions answered. We tried to get to as many of them as possible.
You guys can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All things Be Polite. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Hey, Kiana.
Hey, Kiana.
Alvin. Hey, Alvin, send him a message with your number. And Dave, you'll have this replay up for people. Somebody said, just ask.
Yeah, we will. We'll send it out via email.
Yep, and it'll be on their YouTube, right?
Yep.
Yep. What's you guys' Facebook? Be Polite Properties. Everything Be Polite. Make sure you guys follow us on YouTube because we got a ton of content dropping. And Josh, I'll be texting you tomorrow.
Deal. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Good thing.
Josh is like,
it's like, oh, I thought I had an open day. I might have a bunch of work to do now.
Thank you guys so much. I know everybody obviously
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
YouTube channel is Be Polite Properties.
At Raheem,
what's your YouTube channel, Josh?
I don't have a YouTube, just DealMachine YouTube channel. I don't have my own.
Everyone should be on DealMachine.
Everyone should be following DealMachine.
If somebody said, can you drop it to 50 cents per mail?
We did.
Yeah, I'm about to say you did. You better jump on it like we did.
It did. Hey, I was
Josh?
What? It's called Mailer Pro?
Yes.
Mailer Pro. Yeah. So it adds $50 a month, but it decreases your mailing cost or your deal credit cost to 49 cents each. It also gives you access to a different mailer type, our ballpoint letters, which on the exterior of that are a full envelope and that uses a machine done ballpoint pen with a human done stamp. So really, really cool. And that's only about a month old.
Yes. And we jump right
on. Yeah,
and
that's available for basic or enterprise users. So whichever plan you're on, you can. It's just an add-on for either plan.
Yeah. So you guys can find that in the settings, and there is a place where you go to account. Oh no, that's
Manage Pro. You're not going to see it on yours, David, because you have an internal account.
Oh, okay.
It would show up under.
And there's something that says Manage Products. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
It happens all the time. I demo my account. I'm like, well, it doesn't look quite like this because I have a different account. But
all right. I think that's probably enough for tonight. And we just thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone.
Have a good one. What's up, bud?
Hey, what's up, Josh? Thanks for joining. That was fun.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I feel like I can jump in now.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise. All right, tell Laura I said hi.
I will. What are you doing?
We still got an audience of 100 people.
Oh, hey, everybody. I thought we cut it.
Kiana says, good join, Josh.
Glad to join.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end this so that the recording is good for Ty.
All right.
It.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Brandon, I'll tell Laura hi for you too.